I presented at other NASBA conferences, and I took the easy way out this time. As we were planning the conference and working a little bit with Lori on this topic, she said, "Sam, you guys are involved in sustainability. Why don't you present?" And I said, no. You've heard from me before. You're tired of hearing from me. You don't want to do that again. I said, I've got just the person for you. I have our Vice President, Virginia Allen, that's involved in this on a day-to-day basis, and she's a wonderful presenter. She's from Canada. She has a little bit of Canadian accent, so that'll be the international side of it. And so I prevailed upon Virginia to come and present. But she got caught up in the traffic issues and the plane issues, and so I said I would be delighted to fill in. And I'm not just filling in and reading her materials and trying to make do. This is a topic that is passionate for our company. And as a senior vice president of our company, as the CFO of our company, I'm involved in sustainability. It's an important component of what we do. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about our company for those of you that don't know. We are a paper and packaging company based in Boise, Idaho. We have about 5,400 employees, about $2.5 billion in revenues. And if you'll reach and touch your binder, we made that paper. We sell paper to NASBA. They in turn put it in binders, and you use that paper. If you've ever shipped something in not a cardboard box, we don't say cardboard boxes, we say corrugated containers. Corrugated containers are those products that have the corrugation in the middle. We're one of the bigger corrugated container manufacturers in the U.S. And in fact, if you turn that over, a box that you might get, look on the bottom and see if you see Boise Inc., our logo, or see if you see Tharco, one of our subsidiaries. We maybe made that box. So it's an important product. We think that is important for commerce, and it's a company that I'm passionate about. Now, there are a couple of things that face our industry, but two that are very important. Let me illustrate the first one by picking on Dean Conde. Dean Conde is a good friend of mine from Idaho on our Board of Accountancy. As I sat down by him in the meeting, to start the meeting, I looked over there and he had this funky little thing called an iPad. This iPad, I said, "Dean, what are you doing? You're from Rupert, Idaho. You have a local practice in Rupert, Idaho. You only have, in Rupert, there's, 300 people or 1,000 people in Rupert." I said, "What are you doing with an iPad?" And he looked at me kind of sheepishly and he said, "My son made me do it." Well, that's what's happening in our industry. Many of you are stopping using paper, but we believe that paper will continue to be an important product that we're all going to need. And so it's important that we provide paper and we provide boxes in a way that touches on the things that Galen said in the introduction, that's environmentally sound, is socially sound, and is economically sound. Because as the CFO, I want to make money. That's one of the most important things in my message, is making money for our shareholders. But we believe that we can make money for our shareholders by being an environmentally conscious economic performer in our community. Well, so that's the other thing, the environment. How many of you have received a message from, maybe it's your bank, maybe it's your doctor, maybe it's somebody else, and they say, "Don't print this out, save a tree"? How many of you have gotten that message? Those people should be sued. That's false advertising, okay? Paper is one of the most economically sustainable, renewable resources that we have. We make paper out of trees that we grow every 14 years. We pulp it up, we plant another one, and that's sustainable. How sustainable is plastic? How sustainable are some of these other things? So that's the message that we need to get communicated to the world, because you're all being brainwashed. And why are you being brainwashed? It's not to save a tree, it's not environmentally. It makes money for those other people that don't have to handle and use paper. Okay, so think about that next time you get one of these messages. And I say this a little bit jokingly, but as a matter of fact, the national institute that we belong to, AF&PA, the American Forestry and Paper Association, actually is taking a look at these messages that are being communicated by companies and sending cease and desist letters to them saying that this is in violation of fair trade practices because it's not true. So we need to get that message communicated, and one of the ways we get it communicated is through sustainability reports. How any of your kids come home and said, gee, we ought to quit using paper? Well, I'll give you an example. Our senior vice president, our general counsel, has two children, now in their mid to late 20s. They came home from high school, a high school, by the way, that's about, a block and a half from our corporate headquarters, a high school that we've provided help to over the years in terms of financing and partnership programs and that sort of thing. They came home and had a talk from their biology teacher, well-respected teacher, wonderful teacher, talking about the evils of paper. And she had a very good way of trying to teach them that paper can provide at least some benefit. She took away all of the toilet paper in the house for the weekend. So she didn't allow her children to use toilet paper and demonstrated the benefit of paper products. Okay, so what do we do as a company? We've been involved with sustainability reports for many, many years. And we continue to talk about in our sustainability reports different areas. We talk about how we're environmentally friendly, some of the things that I've just talked about. We talk about the things that we've accomplished. We talk about the use of energy, for example. We provide internally 65% of the energy generation in our own mills. We have a continuous loop and cycle of energy production, so we're saving energy. One of the most important areas that we talk about, and it's important in terms of our supply chain. If you think about supply chain of paper, do you suppose is the most important component of our supply chain? Any idea? Wood, exactly right. A tree, okay? Now, we've all heard of terrible stories about how wood has been taken advantage of. And there are companies that have done that. There are companies that have looted the Amazon, the rainforest. And there are other companies that cut down old growth timber as opposed to the replanted timber and that sort of thing. And, our industry, deservedly so, for many, many years had a bad reputation. But it's important that we communicate the good reputation that we have. And one of the ways we do that is there is a program, actually two programs, to certify the supply chain of wood. And so from the stump into the mills, from the mills where it gets chipped up to us, and then ultimately to the customer. And so we have many customers that require us to have at least one of these designations of sustainable forestry initiatives and where that wood has come from. Just as an aside, I want you all to know that as a public company, we're supporting the accounting industry. KPMG is our auditors. Deloitte & Touche provides our tax work. Ernst & Young provides our valuation work. And PwC does audits of our forest sustainability program because we have those programs audited in order to be able to stand up and to certify that we meet this supply chain. The other thing that we're very passionate about is our environmental record in our mills. A paper mill is an amazing, amazing manufacturing process. And it's really a chemical plant. That's what it is. So if you think about it, you ever thought about how you take a big tree and you turn that into a piece of paper? Well, what you do is you take the tree, you chip it up into little chips like that. You take those chips, you add a little bit of water, you add quite a bit of chemicals, you put it under pressure, and lo and behold, coming out the other side, you have pulp. You take that pulp, you put it across a paper machine that takes the pulp, squeezes out all of the water, and put it in on one side. 90 seconds later, coming out the other side of a machine that's about the size of a football field, you got this stuff that looks like paper mache. Out on the other side, you've got the white stuff that's in front of you. An amazing, amazing chemical process. But in that chemical process, there's lots of opportunities for environmental issues. And so each of the states, the federal government, have a very strong environmental program and regulatory program. And we're proud to say that in 2010, we as a paper company received 0 notices of violation. That's unheard of in our industry because, as was said earlier, stuff happens sometimes and inadvertently. Well, we haven't had 0 NOVs in the last 2 years, but our fines related to that have been less than $10,000. Okay? And so that's the type of information that we need to get communicated into our sustainability reports. In addition to what I said, environmental, social, and economic, it's very important that our employees feel like they have a place to come to work, a company that they can believe in, a company that they can be proud to work for. And as you can tell, I'm proud to work for my company. I'm passionate about it. But I would be less so if I had to come to a meeting like this and face each of you and have you say, hey, Sam, I read the latest thing in the newspaper. You violated or you polluted the Mississippi River or you did this. And so as an employee, it's very important that we provide that type of environment. It's very important that we provide a safe environment. When most of us go to work, all we have to worry about is getting from our home to our office, making sure that we don't get in a car wreck or something like that. We get to our office environment. It's safe. It's wonderful. I got a paper cut the other day, but that's about all we have to worry about. But those people out in our plants are, every day they go to work, they're facing dangerous situations. And it's important that we provide a safe work environment. And so we emphasize safety. There's some metrics that OSHA has, and as we have concentrated and made safety one of our core values, we've been able to decrease our safety incident rate, which is kind of normal in the industry, to about, and this isn't 2 incidents, but it's a ratio based on number of hours and things, from about 2 to we're now under 1, which again is an incredible record in the paper business. And so we want to talk about that in our sustainability report. As we prepare our sustainability report, We have the objectives that I've just talked about. But as we develop that, we also have a couple of principles. We want that report to be authentic. We need to talk about, it needs to be balanced. We need to talk about the good and the bad, and we hope we have a lot more good to talk about, but we don't view it as a propaganda piece. We view it as something that is telling the people that are going to read the report, and the people that are going to read the report are our employees, they're our customers, because they won't buy from us. This is where the economics comes in. They won't buy from us if they don't believe in that we're environmentally responsible. It's important for the governments that we do business with. It's responsible for the ENGOs. That's a term, you would know them better, the companies like the Sierra Club, for example, that are involved in kind of non-governmental oversight or watchdog organizations. And then it's also important to others that we want to focus and target in our sustainability reports. Now, as we prepare our sustainability reports, they've really been, a report that is focused on these things that we're talked about. And we have a little bit of financial information in there. We talk about revenues, we talk about our net income, we talk about EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. So we talk about those things, but it's primarily a prose report that talks about the things that I've mentioned, and it has some metrics, it has some targets, it's how we've achieved those targets, how are we doing on greenhouse emissions, which, by the way, we've committed to a reduction in those, and we're ahead of that commitment. And so we talk about all of those sorts of things, but it doesn't have a lot in that's financially related. And so Mike is going to talk about the more integrated report, something that we're looking at. If you look at our 10K, we'll have just the basic requirements of the SEC, and then we have a little bit of the more traditional marketing things that you've seen in annual reports, the slicker type information. We wrap that around our 10K, but in our 10K, we really don't have anything about sustainability other than those requirements that the SEC mandates that we talk about. So the next step, the evolution of sustainability reporting, is looking to see how that can be encompassed all in one report. And then the question about that is important for all of us that are in the audit or regulating business is, what does that mean for the auditors? Will they be associated with that information, and how will they be associated with that information? And do I, as a CFO, want to hire KPMG not just to audit my financial statements, but do I want to hire them to audit my sustainability report and put some sort of report or opinion on that information? So a little background on how we as a company view sustainability and how we go about preparing a report and the things that are important in that report. And with that, I'll let Mike get into some of the more details about the hows and the ways of integrated reporting.